Hi, folks. I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And you're listening to Talking Downey with Mayor Mario Guerra. Hey, folks, how are you? Happy 4th of July. I hope this finds you well during this celebration of our country's independence. By the way, I mentioned that last week when we had the Army birthday. The United States Army on June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress, made up of the 13 colonies, made the formation of the United States Army in June 14, 1775, a year before the Declaration of Independence and about 12 years before our Constitution. But a year later, July 4, 1776, we declared our independence. And that's the day that we celebrate. By the way, the first general of the United States Army was this guy by the name of General George Washington, which of course became our first president. But man, we've come a long ways. We're not a perfect country, but this experiment in humanity now that's been 248 years, we've done a lot to show the world what can be done. We got a ways to go. We're a work in progress. So, all right. So today's show, I want to clarify some things. I didn't mean it to be a story, but the Patriot was there at a planning commission meeting when we talked about the Raising Cane's project that's going over on the corner of Lakewood and Telegraph. It's going to replace the Mobile and it's going to replace the Pepe's. So first of all, let me bring that up. So both Mobile and Pepe's reached out to Raising Cane. They wanted to sell, okay? The city has nothing to do with getting people or throwing people out. We can't say we don't like Pepe's and we want a Raising Cane there. City can't and doesn't do that, okay? It's because they reached out to Raising Cane's and want to sell that. So Raising Cane's bought that property, the whole corner, from both. And at that meeting there, the planning commission meeting, when we had to approve that, the city... Pepe's was there, the owners of Pepe's, and so was the owners of Mobile. So I want to make that clear. The city did not throw out Pepe's and the Mobile station for Raising Cane's. Having said that, this Raising Cane's is 3 times bigger than the other one on Firestone, and it'll relieve some of the pressure. Bigger kitchen, more modern, bigger safety drive-through and everything else. And it'll also have on Lakewood Boulevard a lot of plantation and vegetation there. It's a little closer to homes. We try to mitigate that by the hours of operations. So I think it's a good project. Again, we can't decide and say, oh, we want an Arby's, we want, a Burger King. It is going to be a Raising Cane's. And yes, we know it's down the street from the Chick-fil-A. That's the market, and they're both willing to pay building something there for their own business. So the market dictates. We're in a market-driven economy. So just wanted to make that clear. So it did pass the planning commission that night, but then there was a reporter, Alex Dominguez, and he picked up on something that I said during the comments. So the March 6th meeting, let me take you back, of 2024, we had a big project, a big warehouse coming up over on Hall and Woodruff, Prolosis, the big warehouse company. So they've been working with the city on this, and they're going to tear down that building that's there, 29 acres, and they're building the largest warehouse in LA County. They bragged about that, said this is a 500,000 square foot warehouse. It's going to have 119 dock bays, 119 dock bays. It's going to produce 700,000 new trucks into that area every single year. And that's only my estimate. The traffic engineers and the report gave us a certain number. I said, okay, let me multiply it. I said this openly. Let me multiply by 200 days, not all 365. And that came out to 696,000 new truck trips. So 700,000 new truck trips coming there. There's residential and apartment right next to it. It's 29 acres. So we did mitigate some things that we thought it's going to be a 5-story, which we don't allow 5 stories warehousing, but we changed it that night. And it was they brought out all their union workers to, this is a good project. We want union jobs, and that's great. I have no issues with that. My son's a union member, so I'm glad they were advocating and coming late at night for that. So my issue was this: at the end, during the after the deliberations, when we had a chance to speak, and I said, "This is a terrible project for the city of Downey." Okay, my concerns have been mitigated to a point, but it's 29 acres, the largest warehouse in LA County. I don't want that, although they bragged about it. 119 dock bays, 700,000 new cars a year coming, trucks coming to that area on the east side of Downey. This is going to be surprising and changing the face of Downey forever. I don't want to be known for a distribution center. I don't want to be like the Inland Empire. And I wasn't putting these cities down. Some people commented on that I don't want to be a Riverside in a San Bernardino or an Inland Empire when it comes to distribution centers, okay, like the Amazons of the world and so forth. And obviously we love it. We just kind of the NIMBY. I don't want it in my backyard kind of thing. Anyway, so I said all this. I said some of the things, my concerns have been mitigated that night. We worked on them there together. And I was going to vote for it because the city had been working so long on it and there was no other plan at this moment. But I did not like this project. So having said that, I said all this. And the reason I said this is the people 5 years from now, when this thing gets built, are just going to say, well, what were you thinking? So I wanted my thoughts to be put on paper, okay? And I did vote for it. So the following month, the minutes come out and I say, hey, the minutes don't accurately reflect this. It just says I voted for it. I'd like to have that wording in there. I was assured it would. So last week on the June 11th meeting when we're supposed to be voting on this, I get my agenda a couple of days before. I look at it and the wording is still not there. It sounds like I was all in favor of it. My concerns have been mitigated. I wanted to thank the staff, which, by the way, I did do in the first meeting. I did thank the staff. I know they've been working hard on it. I think this is a good project. All these things, a couple of them changed the content in the context of what I said, completely night and day. So when I got the minutes, I called City Hall and I talked to the planning department. I said, this isn't what we agreed. Can we change this back? And I was told, no, this is what they were told to put in there. Okay. I left a message for the head of the department. Didn't get a call back on that Monday. On the Tuesday, I called and left another message. Didn't get a call back. So finally on Wednesday, I'm like, how can I not get a call back from before a meeting? That's just not heard of. I mean, I'm a planning commissioner. I could have had a question about anything on there on the new meeting, but I didn't. So I brought it up at the beginning. I said, I've left several messages, didn't get a call back. This is what I said on the March 6th meeting. This is what this reads. This is wrong. How do we change it? So I was told that there was an administrative error and then to change it, that they would change it in the future. So we'll see with the next meeting. So I wanted to clarify that. It could have been easily resolved with a phone call. Just, hey, we're doing it. And then I probably wouldn't have even brought up. I would have just said, hey, we're not voting on it because it hadn't. But as you know, when the media picks up something, it makes it seem bigger than it is. The other part that I brought up, and this, I just kind of wanted to know whether we're doing code enforcement, or whether we're doing trying to get compliance or trying to be punitive. Which one are we trying to do? And the reason I said this is there's a property next to Calvary Chapel, this long property there that's been owned by this gentleman for well over 10 years when I was on the council. And we were trying to help him build back then when I was on the council. So afterwards, he's proposed many things to the city, and politically it didn't seem can go anywhere. He wanted to build senior housing. He wanted to build condos. And then the city told him, oh, you can only build in the back end. So it looks like they are finally being allowed to build. And then we had a really good meeting. The city even said, hey, why don't you build the whole thing? And they're like, well, we'd love to. This is like a couple weeks ago. First time there's some activity is great. It'll be good. We're looking for housing. We're looking for new dwellings here. And the biggest thing that it also built out, it takes away that empty lot from the homeless. So have a great meeting. What happens the next day? Code enforcement is sent out there to give them a citation. Yes, there was homeless way in the back. There was 9 little encampments on there. Yes, the homeless had tore down the fence. They had built 10 fences, wrought iron fences, 10 different ones, and the homeless people keep tearing it down. They're out there once a week trying to pick up trash and stuff. But the irony of it is that the city sent out code enforcement, and the first thing they did was citation. And then, of course, the very next day, they went out there and cleaned it up. The police were out there so they can get rid of the homeless on there, at least asking them to move. They moved back into the riverbed, put up new wrought iron fences. And I understand that. You want compliance. But you're not going to find a more amiable property owner than this. They've been working with the city for many years. In the old days, because I knew them, I don't get any financial remunerations, but the police chief, Dean Milligan, would call me. I'd call the property owner. Hey, you have an issue out there. And, oh, no problem, boss. We'll take care of it. And within 24 hours, they would. Very amiable situation. So my question is, why did you send out code enforcement to give them a citation? Why not pick up the phone and call them? Or better yet, when you were there the day before, just tell them to their face, hey, we got a complaint about this. Can you guys fix it? They would have said right there, we'll do it by tomorrow. And yet we just issued a citation. So my question is, do we want enforcement or do we want compliance? And I think that's something that the council is going to have to look at and direct code enforcement on there. The ordinance even says you're going to let somebody know, you're going to let them, give them a chance to correct the situation and so forth, and that wasn't done. So I took exception to it. Unfortunately, it came out in the paper again. So those are my 2 issues of the Planning Commission. And I just want the city to work well with property owners, and I think they will. I think the city council intent is to at least give people warning. If you have a bad property owner, of course you should fine them for compliant until they comply and so forth. So anyways, just wanted to get this on the record. It was made a bigger deal than it should have been. Didn't have to be. Communication is the whole key to all this, and I hope folks took it that way. So folks, feel free to give me a call. Let me know what you think. 562-706-4114. That's my personal cell number, 562-706-4114. Or email me, mario@guerrains.com. So I hope you have a I hope you have a safe and happy 4th of July. God bless America and all that she represents. I hope you have a good one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Talking Downey with Mayor Mario Guerra.